What's your first experience of Sri Lanka? Like when you saw Sri Lanka the first time?
My first experience in Sri Lanka is incredible. It's a beautiful country with beautiful people, and I loved it. The food's cool, the place is cool, the people are cool, everything's cool. So the first night I got here, Auntie Sammy prepared me a delicious home-cooked Sri Lankan curry meal. And then we went to Uncle Kumar's house, which is Acho's sister's son, right? Natalie's godfather. So we went there and hung out and spoke a little bit of Sinhalese.
Oh, he likes it. It's good, very good.
I just have fun going up to people on the street and saying "Kohoma to them" and seeing their reaction to a white boy.
Moratua, yeah. Egulo Moratua, Jaya, yes. Anuradhapura, Mannar, Madu Wilpaththu, Galla, yes.
And then Friday, the next day, we woke up and we drove to Anuradhapura.
What? Minan said you needed a haircut.
Do I? And it was about, what are we? We left about 8:30.
Yeah.
Got there about
8 o'clock, yeah.
6:30, 4:30.
4:30.
4:30.
So it was about 4 hours of driving.
4 hours.
4 hours of driving. I've learned about, I knew about it a little bit before, but I've learned about it a lot more now, the Sri Lankan bubblegum time. We got to Anuradhapura, and Tony Mommy arranged a beautiful, beautiful bungalow for us. It's just this big main room and 3 littler rooms, and we had our own personal chefs there that were cooking food for us. It was great. It was an incredible place. It was right on this like pond of lilies, which we went boating on the day after. And on the way there, we stopped at this little shop on the side of the road. I don't know what a kare.
Yeah.
Kare,
Is that a kare?
Yeah.
We had probably my favorite meal that we've eaten out. I like the home cooked meals the most, but that was my favorite meal that we've eaten out. And we had a bittara roti, which is egg roti, and parati, and malu. It was delicious, and I went over and I talked to the guy and I told him that I loved his cooking. And we went to a prawn farm, which I've never been to. So we drove out into the heart of like this village, basically, right? And so one of Tony Mommy's friends runs a prawn farm there, which is where they grow prawns for shipment overseas. And I got a hold one that's about this big. It's enormous. It's awesome. After that, we went to the bungalow, and I got to meet Suleiman's family. So Minan's sister Lucille and her husband Devin, and their 2 kids, Melissa and Lozane. And we got there, and there's a man there that asked me if I like Sinhala songs, and I told him yes. So he sent over a contingent of soldiers that had been practicing, and they performed Calypso band, and they performed for like an hour and a half.
What did you do?
And I performed one song with them, the only Sri Lankan song I know. All right. The next morning, we woke up and we drove to Anuradhapura, which is a historic Sri Lankan city where not all, but where a lot of the kings used to live.
Yeah.
So there's a ton of ruins of this old city. It's like Ostia Antica in Rome, a pretty well-preserved city that has a lot of ruins. And we went and we saw the equivalent of the Sri Lankan pyramids. Basically, they didn't look like the pyramids, but that's what they were. They were the place where they held a lot of these artifacts. So we went and we wandered around Anuradhapura.
In the heat.
In the heat.
And
Oh,
what are
yeah.
the most memorable parts of that?
In Asia, or at least in this part of Asia, my experience has been that whenever you go to a sacred place or to a place of prayer, you have to remove your shoes when you're going there because it's disrespectful to wear shoes. So we went to these places at the height of the heat. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning or something. And we had to take off our shoes when we went to them. And we had to walk on the burning hot ground, burning hot cobblestones. It was so hot. Our feet were on fire, and we walked all around them, and it was.
And at one point, you had to wear something too, right?
Yeah, at one point I had to put on a sarong, which is the male equivalent of a sari. So I got to wear that when I was going there. So, and then after we got done there, I went and I met Minon's other sister, Jinanti, Lokamama. So I went and I met her son, Johan, and Auntie G. Then we drove up to Mannar, right? Mannar. Spent the night in Mannar, and it was great. We had the whole family there, and we woke up the next morning. We went to a mass that was in Tamil, so I understood nothing. And
Neither did we.
You guys also understood nothing.
Yeah.
So I felt in good company there.
Yeah.
Then we went to the beach. Which was awesome. We drove
How many
around.
times did you go
We
there?
drove around in circles. We went to the beach about 4 times before we actually went to the beach because we were driving around in circles. We couldn't find it. We finally found it, and the beach was just beautiful and warm. This particular beach was a beach where they fished a lot.
Yeah.
So there was a few Sri Lankan men that were fishing there, and one guy, I think he was like a village guy, they live on the beach and then they go fishing. We got to watch him make dried fish. He was taking fish and he was like shaking it in the sea, and then the salt would dry it out. So that was really cool. And after that, we got back in the car and drove to Madu Church, which is, if not the biggest iconic Catholic church in Sri Lanka, it's definitely one of them. It's a site where pilgrims go, and it hasn't been accessible for a while because during the war, that area was kind of the Tamil Tigers' stronghold, so you couldn't really go there. So I got to experience the first time with most of the cousins. And then we drove to Wilpaththu. We spent the night in Wilpaththu. And then we woke up early the next morning and drove through Wilpaththu, which is a jungle. It's a wildlife reserve in Sri Lanka. And in the beginning, we saw a lot of animals. We got there and we saw peacocks and deer, and we were just seeing animals left and right. And then there was this really long stretch in the middle where we didn't really see anything. So a lot of us were kind of getting nervous, thinking we might not see anything. And even if we had to, it would be fine, because it was still such a beautiful to this huge cliff, and there's a bunch of this red clay there. I don't know how it got there. I don't think from what you were telling me, nobody knows how it got there. And then we saw a leopard far off in the distance. We saw it. They spotted it. So we looked at him for a while, and there are some good pictures of that. So definitely check them out. And then the only thing left on the list was an elephant. And I actually said some prayers that we would see one. And then we turned around the bend, and I see in the middle of this water this big gray shape. And it was an elephant. And he was actually pretty close to us.
Yeah.
So he was, I don't know if he was eating or bathing himself or something, but he was doing something where he was sticking his trunk in the water and swinging it around and pouring the water on himself. So we sat and looked at the elephant for a while, which was super cool. And then after that, we drove back. And then I woke up this morning, and I had another delicious breakfast.
So what kind of foods have you had so far?
So we made a list, and so far I've so crab, kakulu,
Mama kakulu kanma.
crab curry, prawn curry, ash plantain, which is like a kind of plantain, which is a kind of banana, cashew nut curry, dried sprouts, which is like dried fish, right?
Small dried fish.
Papadam, which is a really thin, crispy, like cracker type thing. And then gotukolu, which is gotukola. And then a wood apple drink. A wood apple is a kind of fruit here. And Auntie Sammy made some delicious wood apple drink with ice cream. It was awesome. Biscuit pudding. And then for dinner that night we had rose pond. And then we woke up in the morning and we had pittura roti. I've drank a ton of tea and coffee here. The eating schedule in Sri Lanka is different from the eating one in America. I had ginger beer, which is like ginger ale in America, except a lot more powerful. I had mango curry, kirikos, and then I had beans, angunakola. And then after that I had curd, which is like yogurt, kind of, and treacle, which is kind of like syrup, but different. I love that. String hoppers, you eat with egg curry, and it's really good. I don't know how to describe the taste, but it's good. And then I had this passion fruit drink. Passion fruit is another fruit, and it was delicious. It had the drink, and then it had a bunch of chunks of passion fruit in it, the seeds. So good. Passion fruit. I don't know how to say it. So, I don't like that. Movies. And then I had kiribap, which is milk rice. It's like a really thick rice that you eat with lunumiris, which is a blend of like onions, chilies. It's really spicy. It was incredible. I've also had Sri Lankan banana and pineapple. I had chicken curry, paratha, which is another type of bread. Roti pol. Pol roti.
Roti,
Chini sambola. And what was the name of that thing?
lunumiris.
Lunumiris. Really good. My mouth is on fire. One thing I've learned here is that every meal you eat is spicy. So all the food you eat is spicy. So if you come here, you have to kind of condition your stomach for it because every meal is spicy. I think that, an acharu. So this is acharu. This is acharu.
What it was left of it.
Whatever's left of it. And it is pineapple and then another fruit. Umbrella. Just we don't have that fruit in America. And even the fruit is spicy. Because the fruit is mixed with, what's in there? Chili and a little bit of
Sugar.
And sugar. So even the fruit's spicy. Everything is spicy. Yeah. It's been an incredible experience so far. The people are awesome, the food's awesome, the place is awesome. So I've been having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure being here.
Really nice.
It's been a pleasure.
That's it.
I love Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
Auntie, local mama, and I met her and her son Rohan.
Johan.
Johan, yeah, Johan. Rohan is one of my brothers. I met her and her son Rohan. Johan. I haven't called him that a single time throughout the entire trip, and now I've just done it twice now.